I wanted to spend a few minutes with you and show you some things that I ordered from Silvex Craft. Now, this is a website based out of Poland, and it has some very nice quality products. Now, for the girls in the U.S., the shipping is rather high, but because they do have very nice sterling silver, and because of the price of sterling silver here, it is a good source. And for the girls in Europe, it'll be a great resource. They have Miyuki, Swarovski, and great sterling silver. So what I did was I chose mostly silver findings because for me, having metal allergies, using sterling silver is the better option for me. Especially if I want to wear them myself, and plus a lot of my customers prefer that. So if I make a piece with sterling silver, it's more likely to sell because my customers in particular like sterling silver. However, with the prices of sterling silver, I found myself buying some of the mystery metals that I like to call them because you really never know what they are, or sterling plated. However, if I can find findings that are reasonable, that is what I will use, is sterling silver. And even sometimes if I can't find them reasonably. So it's really nice to be able to find a good price on sterling silver findings. For example, I got several of these little clasps. They're little heart-shaped clasps, and I got them, and it was right around $27, something like that, for all of these clasps. Whereas one clasp in sterling silver can cost up to that much. And sometimes if you find a real lightweight one, you can get it $12, $7, something like that. But it's a real lightweight one. These are nice, heavy clasps. They're really good quality. I also got some spring rings. And that way I can use as an extender. I got some chain. I got a couple of bracelets that I can put little charms on. I got these little findings, and I opened this one and took a set out because I was playing with them. But these are kind of fun. This, you can put a Rivoli in, and you can put some little dangles down below the Rivoli. I got some really pretty Rivolis to go in here. And these are, let me zoom in so you can see how pretty that is. And take it off there. That's a really cool Rivoli. I got that, and I'm going to do a little tutorial on how to use this. Now, with these, you have to use glue, and some people prefer not to use glue, but you can also, you can do a bezel around it. You can glue it in and then do a bezel so that the beads actually hold it. I'm just going to show how to glue it in and put dangles on because it's a little difficult for me to show this on film. But this can be done. And this is a really good way to retain your crystal too. And these came in a package of 6, so I can do several things with them. And I got some really pretty crystal, and this is most definitely Swarovski. It has the, well, when you know Swarovski, you just know whether it is or not. And they're very quality, very pretty crystal. And then with the Miyuki, I got some Tilas and some Megatamas, and I actually got 2 packages of each of these. And so basically, and I got some ear wires. And these are really pretty. There's a lot of detail here. It has a little textured ball, and it has the little spring. These are really nicely done. And I will be using these in quite a few of my tutorials, and I'll refer back to the company to tell you where I got them. And in the spring rings, I'll use these. That's the thing about this, is I can use these in several different tutorials, and I can use them on several different pieces and have a real nice quality finish to my pieces. But today, we're going to concentrate on making something with the crystal and the Miyuki beads. So I will post a link to this website so that you can check it out and find yourself some really nice silver findings, and we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so today, this is what we are going to make. We're going to make this necklace with Tilas, 11 O's, 6mm crystals, and Megatamas. We're going to use the Tilas and the Megatamas that I got from Silvex Craft, and the crystal, the Smoky Mauve, and some silver findings from Silvex Craft. So let's go ahead and get started and see what we will need for this project today. Okay, so I'm going to show you what you're going to need for this project. I will put exact numbers in caption or in the description box beneath the video player. But right now I'm just going to show you what you're going to need. Now I put out both of my packages of Miyuki Megatama beads. They're 4mm and it's about 20 grams. Now whether I use all this remains to be seen, but I went ahead and put them all out because this design I've made calls for quite a few Megatamas. Then you will need 6mm bicone crystals. Now, I believe this is a smoky mauve, this color. And I'm not sure that I have enough of the smoky mauve that I ordered. I love them, they're gorgeous. But I'm not sure for this design if I ordered enough. So I am going to use 2 colors of 6mm and alternate through my design to make sure that I have enough crystal. So I'm going to use a Swarovski clear and the smoky mauve. And then you will need Tila beads. And I put out just one package so far. I'll probably end up putting both packages out. But these are the Miyuki Tila. And then you will need an 11-0 seed bead. And I am using a galvanized silver Toho. And then I have decided to use the spring ring clasp from Silvex Craft. And I cut about a 3-inch piece of chain that I also got from Silvex Craft. And then I just put a little jump ring on each side, a little bit bigger than the lengths of the chain. So probably about a 6mm, maybe an 8. I think it's a 6 though, on both ends so that I can use this as an extender. And then you will need 2 wire guardians. And let's go ahead and get started with this project. Oh, and of course you're going to need a beading needle. I'm using a size 10 English beading needle, and you will need Fireline, 8-pound. I'm using Smoke today. Okay, let's go ahead. So you're going to want to start by picking up a 11-0 seed bead, an 11-0 seed bead, a 6mm bicone crystal, an 11-0 seed bead, a Tila, an 11-0 seed bead, a bicone crystal, and I'm going to use a clear this time. I started with the mauve, now I'm going to use a clear, and then I'm going to use an 11-0 and a Tila, and this is what you'll have on your needle. So you will have 2 6mm crystals, 2 Tilas, with start with a 11-0 seed bead, alternate it between, but don't put one at the end. So 11-0 crystal, 11-0 Tila, 11-0 crystal, 11-0 Tila. And then bring them down to the end of the thread. Leave yourself a nice long tail, about 12 inches, maybe longer if you prefer. And then go ahead and tie these in a knot. And of course you want to make sure that your thread goes between the beads and not on top of them. And I'm just going to tie one, and then I'm going to sew all the way back around my beads. So I'm going to go back into this 11-0 here. I don't want the knot to be in my way later when I'm sewing through, so I'm just going to go ahead and tie one knot and sew through to secure. Sew through all of the beads. Make sure you go through all the 11-0s, and this is where my knot is. So I'm going to sew, I'm right where my knot is, I'm going to sew halfway around again to get over to this crystal away from my knot, because I want this to be on the end of my piece so I can use my tail to put my clasp on. So I'm just going to sew with my working thread to the other side of my little unit here. Then I'm going to come up through the 11-0 and the crystal here, but not the 11-0 on the other side. So this is what you have, just a little circle, and you're coming out of the crystal. Now you're going to pick up an 11-0, a Tila, and then your next color crystal. So I have a clear here. I'm going to pick up the smoky crystal. But you need to have an 11-0. So 11-0 Tila, 11-0 crystal, 11-0 Tila, and 11-0. Like this. We're going to share this crystal here, and that will be our fourth main bead in our right angle weave. So we're coming out of this side of the crystal. We're going to go into the opposite side of the crystal, and we're going to pull a thread down, just like this. Now we're coming out of this crystal. We need to be coming out of this crystal to do our next unit. So we're going to sew through this seed bead, this Tila, this seed bead, and then through the crystal. So I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to sew through all of these beads until I get to my crystal. When I go through my crystal, I'm not going to go through the 11-0 on the other side. Just the crystal. Make sure your tension is nice. And now you have a mauve crystal here, so in our next one when we pick up, we'll pick up a clear. But first we will pick up an 11-0, a Tila, an 11-0, a clear crystal, an 11-0, a Tila, and an 11-0. We're coming out of this side. We're going to go into the opposite side of the crystal and pull. And now we have to get up to the crystal here to add our next unit. So we're going to sew through this 11-0 seed bead here, and the Tila, and then through the 11-0 and the crystal here, and start our next unit. And we'll do one more, and then we'll go to length off camera. So I'm going to pick up an 11-0, a Tila, an 11-0, and then I'm going to pick up my smoky crystal, an 11-0, a Tila, and an 11-0. I'm coming out of this side of the crystal. I'm going to go into the opposite side of the crystal, just like this. And we're going to continue working right angle weave until we get 49 units. And I have counted my units by counting the crystals. So when you get to 49 crystals, you'll have about 18.5 inches. Now we're going to lose about a half an inch when we do our top embellishment and cinch this into a circle. However, we're also going to add an extender. So you'll want to keep that in mind. I have a 3-inch extender I'm going to add to it. However, if you decide that 18 inches is not going to be enough even with the extender, or if you don't want to add an extender, go ahead and do more units of your base of right angle weave, and then you will have a longer necklace. You just can lay it out on your bead board until you get the amount that you want, so that you don't have to know the exact amount of units. Just lay it out on your bead board and measure it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to our next embellishment, and we're going to do our bottom embellishment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew all the way around. I'm coming out of the crystal here at my very end. I'm going to sew all the way around this last unit because I want it to be secure. So I'm just going to sew around it. I'm going to come out the Tila here, right here, I'm not going to go into the 11-0. I am going to go down into the bottom hole of the tila, just like this. Now I'm going to try to turn this so it's easy for you to see what I'm going to do next. So next I am going to add a very simple embellishment between the beads of a megatama, an 11-0, and a megatama, just like this. And we're just going to go from top hole of tila to top hole of tila. And we're going to do this the entire length of our necklace. And then we will add another embellishment on the bottom too. But it's easier if we finish out this entire embellishment first. So just go the entire length of your necklace, adding a megatama, an 11-0, and a megatama. Go from top hole of tila to top hole of tila. You'll have to arrange them as you go through. So that's what that embellishment will look like. And go ahead and do the entire length of the necklace, and we'll be back. Okay, so I have finished my entire embellishment on the bottom, adding my megatama, 11-0 megatama. I went to the very end. I came through my last tila, and get a little closer here. Once I came through my last tila, I then came up into the 11-0, the crystal, and the 11-0. Whoops! I came through the last tila, then I came up through this 11-0, the crystal, this 11-0, and now I'm going to pick up two 11-0s, and I'm going to go into the top hole of this tila on the other side. So we were working down here. Now we're going to be working up between these tilas on top. And all we're going to do this entire way, you can see I've joined my fire line there, and I'll just pull that through and it'll hide my little joint. So I'm going to pick up two 11-0 seed beads, and I'm just going to go from tila to tila. Just like this. You'll have to pick them up and straighten them up as you go, because they want to fall under, of course, because they're just dangling there. And just pick them up and pull, and make sure that you don't have any slack when you're doing this. You want this to kind of cinch your necklace into a circle. So make sure that it's tight as you do it. And then at the very end, when we get done with this embellishment, we'll tighten it and make sure that it's retained well. So just continue, let me back off here. So just continue picking up two 11-0 seed beads and putting them between each tila on the top. And that's what it will look like. And I'm going to go all the way to the end, and we'll be back. I have gone around and put my two little seed beads in between each tila on the top. And now I am coming out. Let's rearrange our piece here. I'm coming out of the tila on the top here. And you want to make sure that, let's back off for a second. You want to make sure that you pull your thread in the top on your piece. Now see, if I pull too tight, see how it bunches my work? I don't want that. I want to level it out with my hands just like this. I don't want it too tight, but I don't want it loose either. I want it to cinch in just a little bit. Just enough that there's no slack, but my work is not bunching. Once you do that, you're going to go through, you're going to pick up, you're right here at the end here, you're going to pick up two 11-0 seed beads. It's like this. And of course it's going to loosen for a second while you're picking up your beads, but you can kind of hold it into place with your thumb and forefinger here after you pull your thread. And then come through this little 11-0 on top of the crystal, and then come down through the crystal right here. Now, I'm going to lay my work out like this, and I am going to make sure that everything is just how I want it with my tension, and it's pretty good there. so nothing's bunching and nothing's loose. So I'm going to pick up my work. I'm going to pick up the thread bridge right here. I'm going to go underneath this little thread bridge by the crystal, and I am just going to tie a very small half hitch knot right here. Just to hold my tension of my top embellishment. Not like that. And now you can see that my necklace is laying out pretty nice. It's going to ruffle a little bit just because of the style that we're doing, but I don't want it to bunch or ruffle much. Just as straight as I can get it is how I prefer it. And then let's get close again. We are basically coming out right here where we just made our knot. So we're going to pick up 2 11-0 seed beads. We're just underneath the 11-0 right here. So we're not coming through it, but we're right underneath it. And we're going to pick up 2 11-0 seed beads, and we're going to go down into the bottom tila right here. But you see, it lines them up, and it looks like you've placed them there all in one strand. So that works really good in one stroke, I guess is how I want to say it. Okay, so I am coming out at the bottom hole of the tila here, right next to the megatama, and I'm going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead and a tila and an 11-0 seed bead. Now, I'm coming out of this side of the tila. I'm going to go into the opposite side. And I'm going to pull my beads down. Now this first one lays kind of strange, and that's okay. Just let it kind of do whatever it wants. It's going to be weird for a minute. Now, we are going to go through these two little megatama, or the megatama, the 11-0, and the megatama right here. We are then going to go through the tila, and just the tila. We're going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead, a tila, and an 11-0 seed bead. And then we're going to go into the opposite side of the tila and pull. Bring it down and arrange it. You can let the 11-0s and the tila go behind the tila and megatamas. The first row, you want them to kind of slide back behind the first row of embellishment that you did. Just like that. And then we're going to pick up an 11-0. Actually, we're going to go through the megatama, the 11-0 and the megatama. Then we're going to go through the tila, and we're going to pick up an 11-0, a tila, and an 11-0, and then we're going to go into the opposite side of the tila. Trying to avoid all my beads on either side. Pull, pop it back behind the first embellishment, just like that. Now this looks really odd until we do our next embellishment, and it will straighten it out. But just make sure you just push them back behind the tila that you're connecting to. So we're going to do one more here. We're coming out of the tila. We're going to pick up the megatama, the 11-0, and you can go through the next tila all in one stroke too, just like this. pick up an 11-0, a Tila, and an 11-0. And then go into the opposite side of the Tila. Sometimes it's a little difficult to find that hole, especially when everything's all black. There we go. Now this one's a little time consuming. Take your time and just go all the way to the end of the necklace doing this. So you're going to have to arrange each one. You're going to make sure that your tension is good, but not so tight that it bunches funny. And just keep going. And this is going to make a little bit of dimension to the necklace. It's going to lift this portion up, and this portion will be underneath. So it gives a little bit of, like I said, dimension to it. So go ahead and continue this embellishment all the way to the end of your necklace. Okay, so I have finished my step of putting my Tila on between my 11-0, my Tila, and my 11-0 between the Megatamas. Now you're going to find that they're going to be really weird looking. They're just going to fold under and just be all over the place. And it just doesn't seem like it should be like that, but it's okay. We'll try to straighten it out in this next step and pull them into place a little bit more. They will stay somewhat tucked behind because that's what we want. We want dimension with it, but they won't stay all wacky looking like they are right now. Let me show you what I mean. They're just kind of all over the place. And I just turned my necklace over because remember, as we were doing it, we were pushing them up behind the Megatamas. So I turned it over so that you could see what it looks like. And they're just kind of flipped out here and there and just, you know, folded up over under it and just in a random type order. And as we do our next embellishment, we'll straighten that out some. So let me show you where we're coming out now. I'm right here by my tail, because I just finished my last little embellishment here. So I'm coming out of the Megatama here, the one on top, on the bottom hole. And I just put in these, this one here, so the 11-0 and the Tila. I'm coming out of this Megatama, or Tila, excuse me. I'm going to pick up two 11-0s. And I am going to go up into this 11-0 here and into the crystal. I have to turn my needle around, so I'm going to sew through this last unit a little bit to turn my needle around. And because of this last 11-0 here, it's going to look a little bit different than up here, but that's okay. Now we're going to go through this first 11-0 after the crystal here. If you can get through it. This is where we tied our knot and set stuff, so if you can't, just go into the little Tila right here. That's okay. Go into the Tila. Come down into this 11-0 and this crystal right here. So let's get our needle in this 11-0 and this crystal. Right here. We're going to go through the other 11-0 on the other side of the crystal. And now we're just going to go through the Tila right here, the one that we just added, our very last one. We're going to go here, well, the one on the unit, not the one we just added. But our very last Tila in our main body of work here. We're coming out of the top hole, we're going to go into the bottom hole, just the Tila. Then we're going to go down into this 11-0 right here. And then into the Tila. And basically all I've done is sewn around until I could turn my needle around so that as I go into the bottom hole of the Tila here, I am the right direction to start my next embellishment. So however you can sew around to get your needle turned around is basically how you want to do that. You don't have to do it exactly like I did, but that was the clearest path I could see. So that's why I did it that way. Now, you can either turn your necklace over again and do this, which I think is what I'm going to do because I want to keep these underneath, so I'm going to turn my necklace over. And there's a couple of ways you can do this last embellishment. If you want more crystal, you can do a fringing stitch with crystal, or you can just do a megatama. So I think I'm going to try it with crystal here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up two 11-0 seed beads, and then a crystal, and then an 11-0, like this. I'm going to drop it down. I'm going to come around the 11-0 and back up through the crystal, just like this. I'm going to hold on to the crystal and pull my thread through, and then guide the crystal up tight against the 11-0s. And then I'm going to pick up two 11-0s. And I'm going to go into the bottom hole of the next Tila. And I'm just going to kind of guide my Tila and my 11-0 underneath the megatamas as I do this, so that it straightens everything out and gives a little ledge there, like this. And that's what that should look like. Now let's do that one more time. Let's pick up two 11-0s. And this time I'm going to pick up a clear crystal since I used a mauve. Now I'm going to pick up an 11-0. So I've got two 11-0s, a crystal, and an 11-0. I'm going to drop them down. I'm going to go around the 11-0 up through my crystal. Now, like I said, you could do this. You could pick up two 11-0s, a megatama, and two 11-0s, and then slide into the next Tila. You do not have to do this fringing stitch. It just depends on how fancy you want to get. If you want it to be really sparkly, then go ahead and use the crystal. If you want it to be a little bit more casual, use a megatama. And then all you have to do is slide through the megatama because of the way the hole is in them, and go into the next one. It's all up to you. Now that I have gone around my crystal here through the 11-0, I'm going to find my next Tila, and I'm just going to slide into it. I'm going to make sure it's nice and neat and organized, and then I'm going to do the next one. We'll do one more, and then we'll go to length. So now I'm going to use my smoky mauve color. I've got two 11-0s, a crystal, and an 11-0. I'm going to go around my 11-0 up through my crystal, and then pull my thread through and guide my crystal up against the 11-0s. Pick up two 11-0s, and then I will find my next Tila and straighten it out and go through it. Now what this is going to do is create a little ledge. These megatamas are going to sit up above your embellishment, your last crystal row here. So these should sit kind of behind, just like that. And that gives a little like dimension, a little bump here. And go ahead and do this all the way to the end and to length anyway, and we'll be back. Okay, so I have finished my entire crystal embellishment along the bottom, and as you can see, the Tilas kind of recede up underneath the megatama and 11-0 megatama embellishment. You can pull them out a little bit if you want, but really it lifts the ends up, and it makes a really unique kind of dimension to this necklace, and I kind of like it that way. So as you're doing it, you can either put another seed bead and make it pull out a little bit more, or you can let it recede up under, and I think I like it this way. I think I like the way it looks like little spikes. So that's the way I'm going to do it, and like I said before, you could do another megatama instead of a crystal too. You don't have to have a crystal there. So now we are coming out of this bottom Tila here, and we're going to do some clasping so that we can be done with this end here. So I'm coming out of the bottom here. I'm going to go up into the Tila, the top hole. And I'm just going to pull everything tight, make sure my embellishment is nice and neat and there's no slack. And then I am going to go up this 11-0 seed bead right here. And then I am going to go into the top hole of this Tila. perhaps. There we go. Make sure to take your thread and put it where it's not wrapped around any of your beads, or it will pull your TLS funny. So there you go, just like that. So make sure that your thread doesn't get caught, and then just pull everything straight, and then go up through the crystal here. You're coming out of the TLS, so you're just going to come up through the crystal, just like this. Now, we are going to pick up 2 11-0 seed beads and a crystal, and I think I'm going to go ahead and use, well, I'll use clear since there's a smoke right there, so I'll use a clear. And then you're going to pick up a wire protector. I lost it in my pile of TLS. It's a wire protector there, and there's one. Okay. So I'm going to just drop down my 2 11-0s in my crystal. Then I'm going to pick up my wire protector, and I'm going to sew up one end of my wire protector here. Sorry, my hands look so bad. Using Smoke Fireline turns them kind of dirty looking. And then I'm going to go into the other side of the wire protector and pull my thread through. Guide by pinching, guide your thread into the divot on top of the wire protector, and then sew into the crystal. Like this, and this is what you should have. Get a little closer. Just like that. Then pick up 2 11-0 seed beads. And go into the other side of the crystal. And pull. And now you will sew around this entire thing about 3 times, and we'll be back. Okay, so I have sewn through and secured my clasping, or my little wire guardian, and now I'm going to close it a little bit on top of the crystal, just like that. And then I'm going to get my little spring ring clasp. Now, these are the ones I got at Silvex Craft, and if you notice, let's get really close. Oops, that's too close. Let's see anything. Let's see. Okay, so you can see that this spring ring clasp is open. You can just open it a little bit more, which makes it nice. You don't have to use a jump ring and add length or make a weakness between the wire guardian and the clasp itself. So you can just open the little spring ring clasp, slide it onto the wire guardian, and then just gently close the spring ring clasp, just like that. And that's how I clasp that side. Now, what you will do, I also had tied off, of course, after I did my securing of my clasp. I just tied off and sewed through my work a little bit. And then you're going to put your needle on the other side on your tail, and you're going to do exact same thing as you did your clasping on this side. And then once you put your wire guardian on, you will just open one of the jump rings on the extender we have prepared on the chain and slide it on, and we'll be back. Okay, so I have finished my clasping and connected my little extender here. As you can see, it's really a nice little finish. I've got my spring ring and my jump ring, and then I've got my extender and another jump ring. And then I just sewed through in my work and tied off. I'm going to bag out and let you see what it looks like. It's a fairly simple design, but it's unique in the fact of the way it lays. And this did turn out, it didn't cinch in quite as much as I thought it would. So it did turn out a little bit bigger than 18 inches. It's probably more like 19 or 20 once you get it around your neck, because it's a little big for me. And I prefer a collar to be 18 inches. So that way it doesn't strangle me. 16 I don't like, it's too tight. It fits, it's just too tight. So I prefer it to be 18. So you want to adjust according to how big your neck is and how you like your collars to lie. This is fine. It lays fine. It just lays a little bit further out on my neck than I like my collars to. But it's very pretty. It turned out very nice. It's very unique, and I think you'll enjoy it. And remember, check out Silvex Craft and see all their pretty silver findings. And in our next video, I will be using some of these, whoops, a piece of fire line on there, some of these ear wires so we can make a little matching. I think I'll use my Rivolis that I got from Silvex Craft and make a little matching, something that'll go really pretty with the black and the crystal that I used here. But anyway, have a good day. Bye-bye.